it's Rachel and I'm going to talk to you today about the fertility awareness method. So by the time I was 14, I had learned that the only viable ways of birth control were hormonal methods such as the pill and barrier methods such as condoms. I had also learned that the rhythm method was an ineffective method and had a high failure rate, and that we ovulate approximately 14 days into our cycle. So learning all this, I chose the route most 14-year-olds choose, the least scary one. I went with the pill, a variety of different brands over the 7 or so years until I decided to stop. Once I started the pill, I was afraid to stop because of all the horror stories of really intense cramps, acne breakout, and then the dreaded spotting that could last for many cycles afterwards coming off of it. But after 7 years of pumping my body full of hormones, I decided I was done and I decided to stop taking them. And surprisingly, I felt better. But then the challenge of still avoiding pregnancy while not being on a hormonal method. And that's where the fertility awareness method came in. So it's a 99.4% effective method of birth control when used correctly, and can also help you conceive if that's your goal. And it's free, minus the cost of a thermometer. So I use the thermometer every morning. This is one I chose to use. I bought it after a year. It is a basal thermometer. This is the box it came in. So basically this measures to the 100th degree for Fahrenheit, which isn't necessary for Fahrenheit. You only need it to the 10th degree. If you are charting in Celsius, then you would need to the 100th degree. So if you have an old, like these are just some old fever thermometers kicking around, but they do happen to go in Fahrenheit and to the 10th degree, then you can just use a regular fever thermometer as long as it's not in Celsius. So I just use the thermometer every morning before I get out of bed under my tongue to measure my thermometer or measure my temperature, and then I chart it and I'm done. So you can also chart other signs such as cervical fluid and cervix position. Couple key tips. It's best if it's a basal thermometer, like I said, unless you decide to use a fever thermometer that is in Fahrenheit, and then if it measures to the 10th degree, that should be fine as well. You also need to make sure that you take your temperature approximately at the same time every morning before you get out of bed and after 3 hours of consecutive sleep. Also keep in mind that things like being sick or drinking too much alcohol the night before can also affect your temperature. So if you are sick or you drink a little bit of alcohol the night before and you notice that you have a really high temperature that seems abnormal, then you just wouldn't count that temperature for that day. You can chart on paper or you can use an app. I prefer using the app. There's tons of free ones out there. My favorite is Kandara. And then once you've charted for 3 cycles, you're ready to use this as your only form of birth control. There are 4 rules though, then you need to keep in mind. So you're infertile the first 5 days of your cycle as long as you have 26-day cycles or longer. If you tend to have shorter cycles, then you're only infertile for the first 3 days of your cycle. After the first 3 to 5 days, depending on how long your cycle is, you are infertile any day that you have no cervical fluid. You're also infertile the 4th day after your most fertile day, which is the most egg white day if you are tracking cervical fluid, or you're infertile the 3rd day after your temperature spikes. So once you ovulate afterwards, your temp spikes, and then you notice that, and then you can count 3 days afterwards, and as long as your temperature stays high, then you can assume that you've ovulated and it is safe. You shouldn't be able to get pregnant after that point. So there you are. It's that easy. If this sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend reading the book, Taking Charge of Your Fertility, for more detailed information on how to make this work for you. You can buy it in a hard copy, or you can also buy it on Kindle, which is what I chose to do. So happy charting, everyone. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join my Facebook group. Bye, everyone.